Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonum, Chapter 68, the marriage of Shamba. Is that correct? No. Text number 32 and 33. Ahujadu sam Krishna cha kupitam sanai Santvaji tvaham etasham Saman ichan ihagata Aho jadu susumrabdham Krishna cha kupitam sanai Santvaji tvaham etasham Saman ichan ihagata Aho jadun susamsratam Krishna cha kupitam sanai Santvaji tvaham etasham Saman ichan ihagata. Please chant. Ta ime mandamataja kalaha birata kala tamman avyanajamuhur dupursham manino bhrubam. Aho a jadum the jadush shu shamrabdham boiling with rage Krishnam Krishna cha also kupitam angry sanai gradually, santvayitva, having come, aham, I, etasham, for these Kauravas, samam, peace, icham, desiring, iha, here, agataha, came. Translation and purport, no, only translation, by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Only gradually I was able to calm these furious Yadus, and Lord Krishna was also enraged. Desiring peace for these Kauravas, I came here, but they are so dull-headed, fond of quarrel, and mischievous by nature, that they have repeatedly disrespected me. Out of conceit, they dare to address me with harsh words. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Romapada Swami Iti Namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Shatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on these two verses. Insulting me, who am well known as their well-wisher, they have uttered bad words. Srila Jiva Goswami comments, Aho expressed lamentation. The Yadus were ready to come to fight and were very angry. Slowly pacify them. I came here waiting to avoid conflict. Wanting to avoid conflict. Those with whom I'm trying to make peace are foolish, since they insulted me and spoke bad words instead of Tamman. Sometimes ye man is seen. Srila Sanatana Goswami also comments, Srila Jiva Goswami takes from Srila Sanatana Goswami. So it's very similar, but some little extra things here. Aho expresses lamentation. The Yadus were ready to come to fight and were very angry. Having pacified them gradually, I came here wanting to avoid a conflict. Those with whom I'm trying to make peace are foolish, since they are absorbed in quarreling. Since they're wicked, instead, yeah, their wickedness is shown. Being proud, they insulted me. Or those who insulted me are foolish and wicked. So, there is there's a lot of subtle things, and I think there's a big background behind this whole situation. That, in one sense, the expectation in this case is that when you deal with persons that are conscious and that are, in one sense, in a position of knowing better, the expectation is that not only the very obvious things are understood, but also subtle subjects, subtle matters are understood. And the expectation also when you're dealing with people that hold certain level of responsibility and certain levels of um, how you say elevation in society, the expectation is that they should be able to immediately capture these things. You don't have to necessarily spell um, the everything in place. It's expected that it's understood. So, and when it comes to subtle subject matters, it's in the realm of etiquette, it's in the realm of proper behavior, it's in the realm of respect. All these, qualities that are expected from people that are in positions of having a much broader picture of things. In other words, those who have taken positions of responsibility. It is expected that those who are responsible, who take responsibilities, especially in situations that have to do with managing not only resources, not only physical resources, but also material resources, but also human resources. It is expected that one has a much more greater capacity to to see in a broader manner, to to do the right thing. So Lord Balaram expected that. Lord Balaram came to Hastinapura expecting to meet with people that has a very, very high elevated position of responsibility in the world, actually, at that time. I mean, these levels in which these dealings was taking place were the leaders of society, leaders of the world, actually, and powerful people, influential, with great uh, wealth, education, lineage, power, all these things were there. So Lord Balaram comes and addresses them with a particular message from he comes and presented himself as a representative of King Surasena, the uh, the king of the Yadus. And the position, although externally there's other things happening that we're going to talk about it, you know, but because King Surasena has been endorsed and supported and established in that reign by Lord Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Balaram, also the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. So his position is to serve Krishna and Krishna's purpose. So Lord Balaram comes as the representative of Krishna. And whatever system Krishna has established, it is to be understood by everyone who is not the word that Krishna uses in the Gita is avajananti, miscreant. Anyone who is not a miscreant should understood that fact. She understood the fact that Krishna is supreme. Lord Balaram comes as that representative. And Krishna's, the system that Krishna established is that here is Maharaj Shurasena, and therefore there Krishna's purpose in the world is to make sure that dharma is properly established. So whenever there's a discrepancy in dharma, then Krishna is meant to correct that. And that's Krishna's power, Krishna's mission in the world. Lord Balaram is there to make sure to assist Krishna. So the expectation is you're dealing with these highly elevated personalities, headed, is the Kuru dynasty, who were the emperors of the world, who have that type of responsibility. So they should understand that. When you have that position, you should understand, or you should be able to have that capacity to understand the position of Krishna. And for those who deride Krishna, the Avajanantis, all those kings who were Avajanantis, there has been systematically eliminated by Krishna and Balaram. So, Lord Balaram has that expectation. And when we hear that the Kurus comes to meet Balaram in great happiness, there was part of the narration is some of the Kurus were able to perfectly understood Lord Balaram's position, and therefore they honored Lord Balaram as uh, the personality of Godhead. They honor him properly. Others, their how shallow the understandings were tested and exposed. So when Lord Balaram ordered them, or actually communicated the order of King Shurasena to immediately return Shamba, and Lord Balaram informed them that actually there will be pardon for transgressing the principles of religion while capturing Samba, and because we're in family and we understand each other here, then let's do the right thing. It is understood that sometimes, we react to things, but now calm down. We all eh, we can do the right thing. And here's the right thing: you recognize that here the personality who is being established by Lord Krishna, the system that represents Lord Krishna, is demanding these type of things. So then you immediately align, and that is the right thing. But then the Kurus, they overcome and overcome by pride, they couldn't accept that, so they were covered. They didn't. It become exposed that they had no understanding of Krishna's position and Lord Balaram's position. So it became exposed that they were not um, they were not Mahatmas. They were Avajananti Manmudhas. They were fools that deride Krishna's position because they could not understand his position of superiority. So they insulted him. They insulted him very, very harshly. And how Lord Balaram managed the whole thing is also very important and telling. But in one sense, you can understand. I'm going to try to give a picture of the circumstances and the background, because how the whole thing got there, the Kurus and the Yadavas, they way back in time during Tetra Yuga, they have a common ancestry. They're all from the lunar dynasty. And during the lunar dynasty, after the Sun dynasty, in Tetra Yuga, the lunar dynasty became the dominant dynasty in the world. And the common, um, their common ancestry that they have is that they came from a lineage of kings, of emperors. Specifically, there was this emperor, his name was Jayati. And we know the story of Jayati back in time in Tetra Yuga, how he got cursed. The circumstances are very nicely described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Jayati got cursed to to suffer of old age, and while being disabled by old age, he has four sons, and he asked each one of his sons to give their youth in charity for 1,000 years so he can rule. And all of the sons decline but one. The first one is Jadu, was the eldest. He declined. And the sons that decline, he cursed. He said to Jadu, he says, none of your descendants will be kings, can be kings. The son that accepted, his name was Puru, who was the youngest. And Puru, eventually, Jayati, after enjoying the youth of Puru, he came to his senses, and he gave the youth back to Puru. after so many thousands, at 1,000 years or something like that, and established Puru as the emperor of the world. From Puru, the Kauravas eventually descend, the Pandavas and the Kauravas descend. So, so that is why it is explained in his, within these pastimes is narrated that the Yadus could not, one of the insults that the Kurus throw at Lord Balaram is that what is this Jadu dynasty? They're not kings. They're under. They only leave because we give them some space, some things like that. The dynasty of Jadu, well, Jadu in itself was extremely pious and became, is the fact is that Lord Krishna appears in the dynasty of the Jadu to give pleasure to Jadu, Jadu Nandana. And so he was a great, great pure devotee, very powerful. But by the curse of Jayati, none of them can become kings. And therefore, uh, Krishna and Balaram, they didn't accept to be kings, nor Vasudev. Uh, we never hear of Vasudev, the kingdom of Vasudev. So many of the Yadus, they follow that, but some of the Yadus don't. Like Maharaj Shurasena, he accepted the position of a king. But the fact is that from the descendants of Puru were the one who were given the responsibility of being emperors. So externally, there was this situation, and it was this whole thing that the Yadus cannot hold the position of responsibilities higher than those who were descendants of Puru, the Kauravas. So externally, the Kauravas, they were in a higher position. So they can, you know, we are in a higher position. However, because of Krishna's appearance, that changed the whole thing. Krishna is the personality of Godhead. And the pious Kurus were able to see that and understand that perfectly. The Pandavas understood that. Bhishmadev understood that. Vidura understood that. But those who were overcome by greed and by pride, such as Dhritarashtra and Dhritarashtra's sons, they could not understand that. So now, overwhelmed by those things, they insulted specifically Lord Balaram, who was their spiritual master, the spiritual master of Duryodhan, or they say not the spiritual master, but the guru of Duryodhan, martial guru, a well-wisher, and they insulted him. They insulted him, but not only they insulted Lord Balaram, but they deride Krishna. And for someone in the position of responsibility, when do that type of things, they should be punished. There's a consequence for that. So in this case, Lord Balaram took the position of punishing them. So, from the perspective of this etiquette, when there is someone who is superior, um, who is your superior, and everything is all good for that superior personality to give you directions until the direction is there is not in accordance with your particular ideas, then it becomes exposed, and you become your the real space of consciousness in which we may be becomes exposed. And if that space of consciousness is overwhelmed with pride and with all these different things, then for sure you will commit offenses, and serious offenses to, to the superiors. Um, so these type of offenses usually are very, very lethal in terms of your um, um, advancement in Christian consciousness. It always ends like that. As you know, you've seen it many times. You read it in the scriptures, you read it in the pastimes, of great personalities. Um, you've seen it also if you've been hanging in ISKCON for some time. You've seen it happening. You able also at times to see yourself going through those type of tests. We're going to be tested because we have attachments, and with most of us we have attachments, and we have particular ideas of who we are and what we want. We have this type of we hold into this type of conceptions and attachments. And when the instructions from our superior authority comes and goes against that, then we have to make a proper choice. And at times, uh, those choices, um, if they're reactive, if they've been overcome, or they've been forced or influenced by our reactions to do with pride and with anger and with all these different things, when the reaction is like that, there is going to be some type of apparat or offense. Therefore, it's important that we try not to react. Lord Balaram did that, shows that in one sense. Quite control. You know, this they were insulting him back and forth. And only when they left, then Lord Balaram, you know, uh, responded. So we may be tested at that time, something that goes against how we see things and we understand things when it comes from our authority. So we have to, rather than to react, we have to take the time to process and understand. It's important that we do that type of things. It's important that we get into the habit of sort of control our reaction time and take the time to process. And during the process time, we have to ask questions. We have to ask. And um, when there is, to clarify and to process properly, then if we have the questions in a proper mood, with a mood to understand, then we can very easily, or not necessarily easily, but will have the chance to overcome, to pass, to overcome the test that is there when these type of situations present ourselves. Um, Prabhupada call this situation perplexing, perplexed, perplexing situations. When there's an internal conflict, there's confusion. Arjuna have to go through so much of that because he didn't want to fight his family. He didn't want to even think the situation of him having to confront his grandfather, and in that situation in which one of them had to kill each of the other. He didn't want to be in that position. And there is Krishna telling him what appeared to be, yeah, it's good that you just focus on spiritual stuff, and then telling him, and therefore, take your bow and be ready to fight. So it was conflicting and conflicting and conflicting, confusing, perplexing. And then he keep asking the question to process, to understand. Finally, at the end, he was saying, now I understood and I'm ready to fight. But it took some time, 18 chapters of instructions to come to that conclusion. So we should be able to be prepared that we're going to constantly be tested. And there will be some times, and we can look forward when our spiritual authorities, especially our spiritual master, direct us in such a way that will call to do something, or that may be right, conflicting with something that we may have an idea of how we should act. And if the spiritual master does that directly to us, is because we have gone already a long way on purifying ourselves. When the spiritual master say, "Yeah, okay, go ahead," there's no much. Um, there's no much. How you say? Um, um, Not obstacle, but there's not much opposition. Yeah, go ahead. Do it like this. At least do it like this. It's because we're not ready. But when the spiritual master may tell us, uh, we're going one way, and the spiritual master say, no, stop, not that way, that other way. And then, oh, well, why? What's wrong? I mean, we're so sure that you know, we're doing the right thing for us, and what appears to be no. Then that's when we're going to be tested. If we are overcome by pride, we're going to make an offense. If we're not, then we're going to be perplexed, But if we're not overcome by pride, we will ask the spiritual master to please explain and help us understand and process why. And that gives us the capacity to overcome more ingrained and deeper anarthas that are there within our heart. I'm still a little bit on, like, my head is a little foggy. My wife know I've been sleeping a lot, so I'm still a bit in a fog. So I'm gonna stop here. Is this some thought? Is quite a subject matter that could be very deep, and I don't know if I gave did it properly, but if you have any comments or thoughts that can add to that, that would be great.
Um, well, thank you for class, Prabhuji. Whenever we speak on this subject in this area, I always think to myself about the statement of Prabhupada where he says, Krishna consciousness is not an imposition on the mind, where, and there's, there's this saying, fools rush in where angels fear to tread, right? And Krishna consciousness is not an imposition on the mind. So it seems like, um, I remember it's Prabhupada's, there's a book, that book, Fools Rush In, where Angels Fear to Tread. He was saying how when a person thinks that they're in a particular position, he should take a step back and wait till the superiors pull us to that higher position. But I noticed he used the term pull, like we can't just jump. Have to be pulled. So I don't know. Personally, for me, I always think, well, it's better. I always judge things by if I'm happy, because if I feel like if I feel anything other than happiness, then, or let's say the thought comes from an outside source about something, I probably won't go for it because just for what you were saying, um, if I'm in a position and I'm happy, I try to just stay there for as long as possible, and then just kind of try to maintain that. But I was wondering if you have any thoughts about that. Like you just like you're carrying the load and it's already heavy, and you don't want to add more because you're already like you know doing like this, and you don't say, all right, do you think I should increase my load? Then you just bloop,
Hmm.
So
Yeah, just one thing that you mentioned, that the our spiritual authorities will pull you. Literally, that's what Lord Balaram is gonna do to them. He's gonna grab them, but he's pulling the whole city. He's dragging. So immediately correct the whole thing. Um, the I think it has all to do with faith, and at the end you get that type of test. Like, if you have faith in your spiritual leader and your spiritual master, your in your spiritual authorities, if you have that type of faith, then at the end that faith will prevail and will help you process the whole thing. If that faith is obscured by pride and by certain sense of arrogance, that sometimes, that's what pride does. that but no, I'm right. Like, it's most likely that my spiritual authority doesn't is not understanding properly. Usually that comes into my spiritual master is not getting the full picture. Let me try to explain the full picture to him. And then the spiritual master, when they see your arrogance, may chastise you further or ignore you or things like that. And you become even more agitated. It's a spiral down if you approach your spiritual authority with that type of arrogance. It will lead to further and further situations of offenses. Now, um, if you have faith, you may not understand. Oh, why in the world I've been given this type of instruction? Is it that my spiritual master is not understanding, the situation, and then faith does something. Faith, helps you process like that. Well, does he need to understand? I mean, that at the end of the whole thing is that the spiritual master, faith in the spiritual master means understanding that the spiritual master is representative of Krishna within the heart, the Chaita Guru. So the instructions that you're receiving comes from Chaita Guru, which is exactly what you need. So when you receive that, when you have faith on that, so then regardless, whatever my spiritual master is telling me have to be the best for me. So then the question is not, is he understanding? The question is, am I understanding? So what is that I'm not understanding? So then you start to reframe the thing differently. What is that I need to understand? And then it becomes, Krishna will give you the intelligence to ask the right questions. And then you get the answers, and the directions. And even if I don't understand, because I have faith, I follow. And then, boom, as you follow, things become clear. It's many devotees call, specifically Jamuna, Devi, he calls this Krishna magic. Krishna magic. That's what the magic is of Krishna consciousness. So it's about faith. It's about faith, and then when you're in a position of responsibility, it's quite something because you are going to be chastised because it's not just you; it's the huge amount of people that are depending on you doing the right thing for them to be properly situated. So you're not hurting just yourself, but you're hurting, in the case of the Kurus, they hurt in the whole world because of their ignorant and wicked behavior of deriding Krishna and Balaram. So for Lord Balaram, they have to be chastised for, they have to be corrected. And it's their mercy of them.
Want to add, just want to add one of the scariest things I've ever heard was when my guru said, Guru is right even when he's wrong. He said that. He says, Guru is right even when he's wrong. I was like,
Yeah, it's a way of saying it, but that means that he's not wrong. Yeah, that means he's, is Krishna, in the apps from that spiritual perspective, it's absolute. It's all good. It's all good. It's always your well wisher.
I took it to mean that if I think he's wrong, he's really right. That's the way I really took
Right,
it.
right. Anyone else?
And this position of the Kurus of being emperors of the world, and then the incapacity to take an instruction from spiritual authority. Um, it seems not an unusual thing for persons in a position of power to become overconfident and to feel invincible. And the invincibility permits harsh behavior to others, um, or that sense of being invincible permits overstepping a boundary of proper etiquette or overstepping a boundary of um, decent behavior. So it doesn't seem so unusual just by virtue of the fact that holding power um, leads to that overconfidence and sense of invincibility. So naturally, the point you brought up, that the inability to recognize the superiority of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram's position can contribute to that. So then, one could ask the question, in general circumstances when there is that overconfidence and visible display of overstepping etiquette and proper behavior with others, then would it also indicate um, failing to recognize the um, dependence upon, or just recognizing, dependence upon the instructions of Krishna and Balaram?
Yeah, in one sense, you can, without being within Krishna's system, the system that he designed for this world to organize and to structure the whole society, the Banashran Dharma, uh, you can, for sure, you cannot being able to properly rule and manage the world. You cannot administer. So a kshatriya, a ruler, someone with that responsibility, have to be Krishna conscious. So they have to be under brahmanas who understand Brahman, who understand the who understand Dharma. So the Kshatriyas are the protectors or the upholders of Dharma. So if because of their disqualification, they create a discrepancy in Dharma, then they're going to be eliminated. And one question is, I thought of that well, there's a Kurus that they get exposed, you know. Duryodhan, I mean, actually, they already has been exposed. They've been doing all these schemes to hurt the Pandavas for quite a while. This is after the lack, the house of lack, all that stuff. By these times, the Pandavas is in they are in what's the kingdom? Their kingdom? Um, what? No, 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 no. They they are in they're in the city, the capital of Maharashtra this year. The one when the Kurus divided the kingdom in two, they gave Indraprastha. Indraprastha. The Pandavas were in Indraprastha already. So the Kurus are showing all these discrepancies. And now they have become quite exposed. So why did Balaram didn't eliminate them? He, pardoned them, and they continue doing all these horrible things. After that, then Duryodhan tried to cheat the Pandavas from Indraprastha and then send them to the forest, the whole thing, and all the way to the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So the whole idea that some of the responses that are given by the acharyas is that Krishna's and Krishna Balaram purpose is that through the Kurus, improper behavior of discrepancies in the in Dharma, then they were going to put all these unqualified kings all together to be killed in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So it's more or less the same system that Krishna used Jarasandha to put together as many demons, 17 different times, millions of demons together. So he would just wipe them at once, So through the battlefield of Kurukshetra, then that's when whatever was there left in the world was eliminated, and then that's when Krishna's function in this world was completed. So yeah, that was one thought. Okay, Chintya Prema and Uttama Prabhu have any?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, and I hope you get well soon.
Yes, I hope to.
um, about the offenses. So, how do I know that I made an offense? Because sometimes I feel like my day is full of offenses, But how do I know? How can I, check that this is an offense, or especially to other people? You know, not to japa, but like especially when I'm talking or interfering with other people.
Yeah, we have to be um, introspective. That's just part of the the directions and the type of practice that we have to constantly be monitoring ourselves. And if we do that, I mean, then it's almost like you have your you're being attuned to signs that may say, oh, I may have made a mistake or not. So I'm I'm ready to capture these different types of signs. And if it happens, then I will consider. Sometimes people may tell you, sometimes you may read it, just how there's certain subtle or grow or not so subtle changes in connections that you have with people, and if you find out that you may have, without knowing, sometimes insulted someone, then you should be, um, you should be ready to apologize, or at least to internalize. Oh, so this may be the situation and that situation, or yes, um, it's a cultivation. We have to be. We're cultivating these qualities of humility, tolerance, respect, and sometimes sometimes people becoming offended is not have much to do with you, but to them, you know. And in those cases, sometimes we have to tolerate, you know. Sometimes, if we are tuned in, sometimes it means maybe you have to keep yourself away from that situation, not to make it more difficult. Oh, and it all comes from, I think, this is from my limited perspective. We have to try to be very introspective. How, where's my part in this thing? Where's my motivation? I just keep thinking. My spiritual master gave me that advice. Always check at your motivations. When you do things. So, I may have the motivation to do something good for you, you know, and I go ahead and, oh yes, I know this is something that is very nice, so let me do it for you. But it happens that it's very nice for me, but I don't know if it's very nice for you, and I see that maybe you didn't react very well to it, and who knows, maybe I have offended you even, by trying to do, like that. So I have to be tuning. Oh, maybe my motivation was not perfect, like that, and I should apologize for that. And rather, okay, let me ask this person, let me remember, to be more in tune with etiquette and that type of thing. So it's a constant review, monitor myself. We're gonna make mistakes, that's for sure, and should be ready for that. What do you think?
Yeah, thank you. I yeah, I totally agree. Yes, so thank you for explaining. Yeah, so that's a constant um, review of myself and my motivation why I'm doing that for this, and am I doing this for myself in the first place or for the other person?
Hmm.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, or maybe mixed combinations,
Yeah.
how much of this is there. Okay, I stop here. Thank you so much, everybody. Grantara Shiman Bhagavatam Ki Jai.